What kind of car is Lightning McQueen? It's never directly said that McQueen is based on a single car, and although he's directly based on the American Racing League NASCAR, his design is nothing like the cars that ran in the early 2000s when studying was done for the film. However, it's been confirmed that McQueen is based on a mixture of multiple cars, as the director of Cars confirmed that McQueen was based upon the crew's favorite cars, from Ford GT40s to Dodge Chargers. So we know that McQueen isn't based upon a single manufactured car. But which car would be the most identical source for Lightning McQueen? Although it's been debated, the overall closest resemblance to the shape of Lightning McQueen is the Chevrolet Corvette C6. The front bumper and overall shape of the Corvette matches up incredibly well with McQueen's design, and the rear bumpers are nearly identical. Another good pick would be the Dodge Viper from the early 2000s, as it has a similar body shape to McQueen as well, but the rear bumper doesn't match up well enough for it to be an exact source of Lightning McQueen's design. Here are some characters from the movie Cars and their real-life car counterparts. Starting off with Lightning McQueen, now I made an entire video going over what the closest resemblance to McQueen was, and it's been mentioned that he isn't based on a single car, but rather a mixture of cars. I said in that video that McQueen looks similar to a Chevy Corvette C6, so that's why I'll go here as well. Next up is Tow Mater. Now Mater is designed after an older generation of pickup trucks, which is why he's rusted in the movie. So after looking at older pictures of pickup trucks, I found that the 1955 Chevy 3100 truck was a close resemblance to the iconic tow truck. However, the actual closest resemblance is the 1955 Chevy Task Force tow truck, which is a way more credible pick than the 3100. Finally, we have Sally, who is obviously based on a Porsche. In particular though, she is based on a 2002 Porsche 911 Carrera, as Carrera is actually her last name and the side-by-side view is extremely accurate. Here are some more characters from Disney's Cars and their real-life car counterparts. Let's begin with Lightning McQueen's mentor and one of the most beloved characters from the movie, the fabulous Hudson Hornet Doc Hudson. As the name suggests, Doc is based on a car manufactured by the company Hudson, specifically a 1951 Hudson Hornet. The car was a pioneer during the early days of NASCAR, and the character of Doc was based on a former NASCAR driver, Herb Thomas. Before I continue, consider subscribing as I would greatly appreciate it. Next up is Sarge. Now Sarge is modeled after a Jeep that was used during the Second World War, and if you wonder why it's from World War II specifically, Sarge's license plate reads 41WW2 with the word veteran underneath it. So using this, we can say that Sarge is a 1941 Willys MB Jeep, as that was a car that served during World War II, and it also looks a lot like Sarge. Finally, we have Fillmore. Fillmore is based upon a car made by Volkswagen, as the logo is present on the front of his face. Specifically, Fillmore is based on a 1960 Type 2 Volkswagen bus. Here are more characters from Disney's Cars and their real-life car counterparts, starting off with the King Strip Weathers. The King is voiced by 7-time NASCAR champion and legend of the sport Richard Petty, which is why the King has 7 Piston Cup championships. Now the King is based on one of the most iconic cars that Richard Petty drove in his career, one that was so fast that it was actually banned from NASCAR entirely. The car I'm referencing is a modified 1970 Plymouth Superbird that was used in NASCAR. The high top speeds of this car forced NASCAR to ban it almost immediately, and the massive rear wing makes this one of the most recognizable cars to racing and car enthusiasts. Next up is the antagonist of the first movie, Chick Hicks. Chick is based on an older generation of NASCAR stock cars, as proven by the contrast in his design to other cars we see racing in the movie. Specifically, Chick Hicks is based on a modified 1986 Buick Regal that was run in NASCAR. Cars from this era were actually some of the fastest in NASCAR history, setting records at the big tracks such as Talladega and Daytona. Here are more characters from Disney's Cars and their real-life car counterparts, starting off with everyone's favorite duo, Luigi and Guido. Luigi and Guido are the main crewmates that accommodate Lightning McQueen to all of his races, as both have expertise in tires, and more importantly, Guido has the ability to change tires insanely fast. So beginning with Luigi, he's a relatively small car compared to everyone else in Radiator Springs. Specifically, Luigi's design is based on a car from the company Fiat, and according to Disney themselves, Luigi is a direct recreation of a 1959 Fiat 500. Next up is Guido. Guido isn't exactly a car, but rather a miniature forklift, as he uses the lifts attached to him to act as arms, which makes him able to change Lightning McQueen's tires. Also, is Guido the only character in Cars to have a visible form of arms? Anyways, the Cars community believes that Guido is based on an Alza Tutto forklift, which is inspired by a 1959 BMW Isetta. However, I like to personally believe that Guido was a modified POP 50, which is much slimmer than the Isetta and fits Guido's design. More characters from Disney's Cars and their real-life car counterparts. We'll begin with the antagonist of the third movie, Jackson Storm. Storm is a next-gen racer in the Piston Cup League who obliterated Lightning McQueen and everyone else on track. When it comes to his actual design, Storm is not like any stock car that's been run up to the movie's release, so we have to look at a different car to be the closest resemblance. It is widely accepted throughout the Cars community that Jackson Storm is based on this, the 2002 Cadillac CN concept car, as the shape of both cars are almost an exact copy. Next up is Cruz Ramirez. Cruz was a trainer for Lightning McQueen before McQueen decided that Cruz should enter the main race instead of him. Like Storm, Cruz's identical copy isn't stated, however the rear emblem on the bumper is very reminiscent of the Cadillac logo. Using this, I picked this to be the copy, the 2017 Cadillac ATS. The headlights are relatively the same and the shape of the car is very close to Cruz's design.